Okay, and we're back with part 2 of the MMA rankings video. This time the 205-pound division, also known as light heavyweight. We're trying to rank the top guys, starting from 1 and going down. And in the previous video I said that obviously Shogun Rua is the number 1 ranked, having defeated Lyoto Machida, but Lyoto Machida at number 2, which brings us to number 3. And number 3 is where it starts to get controversial. You could say that Anderson Silva deserves that number 3 spot, and then again you could say it might also belong to Rashad Evans. Both guys having defeated Forrest Griffin, and Forrest Griffin having defeated the guys I'm going to talk about next, the previous champion. But yeah, number 3, Anderson Silva or Rashad Evans. Well, to me, it seems kind of pointless to rank Anderson Silva there, because if Lyoto Machida was still the champion, we would never see a title fight between Anderson and Machida. Even if Machida wasn't the champion, or either one of them, we still wouldn't see a fight between them because they're training partners and they don't agree to fight each other. They wouldn't agree to that. So it's kind of useless to rank Anderson Silva and the 205-pound division, because he doesn't really compete there that often. You know, there's been talks of Anderson moving to 205 pounds, and there's been talks of him moving to heavyweight, but then there's also been talks of him retiring after he beats Chael Sonnen and fights Vitor Belfort. And I said beats Chael Sonnen because I believe that he's going to destroy him. But you know, after he fights Vitor Belfort, who knows what could happen. I don't really think it's fair to rank Anderson Silva in the 205-pound division, even though he has that clear-cut victory over Forrest Griffin. Maybe Forrest Griffin was just having a bad night. Who knows? But anyways, until Anderson Silva really starts competing there, then I'm not even going to include him. Alright, so we're going to give the number 3 spot to Rashad Evans, having those clean-cut decision victories over, most recently, Rampage Jackson, the previous champion before Forrest. And, well, he had that victory over Forrest Griffin. He's got the victory over Thiago Silva, another top-ranked guy. Well, I would consider him top-ranked. But he's got a lot of significant wins. He had a win over Michael Bisping, but another decision there, but still a victory. And really the only controversy was against Tito Ortiz, which he went to a draw with him. But some say that he probably would have won that fight if Tito hadn't been holding on to the fence. And even though they took a point away from Tito, you know, it kind of broke the momentum of the fight. But there should have been a rematch between Rashad and Tito, but for some reason that never took place. And now I highly believe that if there was a rematch, Rashad would clearly destroy Tito. But all these victories that Rashad has earned were pretty much by decision, except for the knockout over Chuck Liddell, which is very nice. But then you could argue that Chuck is losing it anyway, and anyone can knock out Chuck, basically. But he's got all those decision victories, and the biggest complaint with Rashad, people say that he doesn't finish the fights. And my point is that, my counter argument to that is, Rashad Evans is a wrestler. He uses his wrestling skill to defeat his opponents. Wrestlers primarily grind out their opponents, wear them down to earn a decision victory. And you can't hold it against them too much when they earn these unanimous decisions, because that's their game plan. That's what they prepare for. So, to me, Rashad Evans definitely earns that number 3 ranking. Alright, now, for number 4, forget about Anderson Silva. Number 4, we might say that the previous champ, Forrest Griffin, belongs there. Okay? Because Forrest defeated Quinton Jackson. And Quinton Jackson, well, at one point Quinton Jackson was the champion. He beat Chuck. He beat Dan Henderson, another top-ranked fighter at 205 pounds. And before that, it was Vanderlei Silva, who was the Pride 205-pound champion. And he was beaten by Dan Henderson, and Dan Henderson was beaten by Jackson, and the rest is history. So we have Forrest Griffin, who proved himself by not only when he beat Quentin Jackson for the title, but also when he beat Shogun Rua. Alright, so after Forrest lost to Keith Jardine, he really started stepping up his game. He turned it around, became a very talented fighter. And other than that loss to Anderson Silva, you can't argue too much with Forrest's top-ranked position. I think he belongs in maybe the top 5, so I'm going to give him the number 4 spot. He definitely earned that victory over Quentin Jackson. It was a close call. It was a very close fight, but I watched it carefully, round by round. I criticized everything. Saw it right down the middle and scored it round per round. And I have to agree with the judge's decision. The way they scored is exactly how I scored it, with the exception of one referee. But that referee still gave the win to Forrest. And man, he earned that fight. He earned that win. Now a lot of people will argue that Quentin Jackson wasn't prepared for that fight. He didn't train hard enough. And if he had, then he would have destroyed Forrest. And if they ever fought a rematch, then he would destroy Forrest. But that's all hearsay. What really happened was a discredit to Quentin Jackson as a fighter. Quentin Jackson sometimes gets lazy, sometimes gets overconfident, and that's what happened. He didn't train hard enough for Forrest Griffin, and maybe he didn't train hard enough for Rashad Evans either. So that's a discredit to him as a fighter. Not an excuse to say that he didn't lose the fight when he normally would have. Quentin Jackson's a talented person, but you could have all the talent in the world and not do anything with it. And you know, you get outranked. You get outranked by guys like Forrest who really work their ass off. Okay? So, Forrest Griffin, ranked number 4. That's what I'm going to go with. Which brings us to number 5, and this is where it gets really, really hard. You might say Quentin Jackson here, but also you could argue Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, because Rogerio has beaten a lot of people. He's fought a lot of 205-pounders in Pride, and he's beaten many top guys. Like I think, I'm not for sure, I believe he beat Alistair Overeem at 205 pounds. So we really haven't seen a whole lot of Rogerio and Quentin Jackson, for that matter. Quentin Jackson needs to fight some more guys. I mean, he beat Vanderlei, but then again, you could argue that he was beaten by Vanderlei twice in the past. So is he really better than Vanderlei Silva? We're not sure about that. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here, and stay tuned for part 3, which will continue this discussion.